I never expected this trip to feel any different from the others. It was just another company retreat. Meetings, presentations, team dinners, the usual blur of polite conversations and tired smiles. But from the moment I stepped into the lobby of the Coastal Hotel, something about the air felt different. Maybe it was the ocean breeze, or maybe it was seeing my boss, Nathan Cross, there in person. He rarely attended these trips himself. Usually he sent one of his assistants. But that morning, he stood by the check-in desk. No suit, no tie, just a dark shirt with the sleeves rolled up, talking easily with the staff. I remember stopping for a second, watching him laugh about something, and realizing I'd never seen him look so human. Nathan had always been the kind of man who made people straighten up when he entered a room, confident, measured, calm. At work, I admired him from a distance. But here, away from the polished glass walls of the office, there was a different kind of energy around him. I didn't think much of it then. I just told myself it was strange seeing him outside his usual element. That first day went as expected. Long meetings, corporate jargon, endless slides. I tried to keep my focus, but exhaustion crept in early. During the evening dinner, I found myself seated next to Nathan. It wasn't planned. The table arrangement just happened that way. I felt awkward at first, unsure how to balance professionalism with casual conversation. But Nathan was different that night, relaxed, warm, and unexpectedly funny. He asked about my hometown, my favorite places to travel, even joked about how everyone secretly hated these corporate bonding events. Somewhere between the second course and dessert, the conversation shifted. He mentioned how leadership could feel isolating, that people rarely spoke to him as a person, only as their boss. I nodded, saying that sometimes even being married didn't make loneliness go away. He looked at me curiously, as if hearing more than I'd said. Then he smiled gently, and for a moment, I forgot who he was. After dinner, most of the team went to the hotel bar, but I excused myself. I told them I needed to prepare for the next morning's presentation, though really I just wanted silence. Back in my room, I sat by the window, looking out at the sea. The city lights shimmered across the water, and I wondered what Liam, my husband, was doing back home. Probably asleep already. We hadn't talked much lately. Most of our calls ended with the same quiet phrases, "I miss you," and "take care." Words that had started to sound like habits instead of feelings. I was about to turn off my phone when a new message appeared. "Nathan, still awake? Wanted to go over something for tomorrow." I hesitated, staring at the screen. It was late, 11:42 p.m., but technically it was still work. I typed back, "Me. Sure, I can come by." The elevator ride to the top floor felt longer than it should have. When I reached his room, I paused at the door, hand hovering over the handle before I finally knocked. Nathan opened the door almost immediately. He looked different again. Not in a deliberate way, but softer. The kind of tiredness that comes from carrying too much responsibility for too long. "Hey," he said casually, stepping aside. "Sorry for the late message. I just wanted to clarify a few slides." Inside, the lights were dim. A half-open curtain let the city glow in from outside. His laptop was on the table, though I couldn't help noticing the two glasses beside it. We went over the presentation briefly, small adjustments, phrasing, a few ideas. But as the conversation lingered, so did the silence between us. I could feel something unspoken in the air. He wasn't rushing me to leave, and I wasn't in a hurry to go. He leaned back against the desk and asked, "Do you ever get tired of pretending everything's fine?" I didn't answer right away. Maybe because I didn't know if he meant work or life. "All the time," I finally said. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The distance between us felt too small for how much weight hung in that room. "I should probably get some rest," I said quietly. He nodded, though his eyes lingered a second too long. "Good night, Ethan." As I walked back down the hall, the sound of the waves outside mixed with the echo of his voice. I couldn't explain it, but something had shifted. Subtle, invisible, yet undeniable. A line had been drawn somewhere inside me, though I hadn't crossed it. Not yet. That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The glow from my phone screen still showed our last message thread. I thought about deleting it, but I didn't, and that was the first mistake. The next day started like any other. Sunlight filtered through the blinds, and I tried to shake off the uneasy feeling from the night before. I told myself it had just been a harmless conversation, nothing more. But deep down I knew something had changed. Every time Nathan spoke during the morning briefing, my mind replayed the quiet way he'd said my name the night before. I avoided his gaze, pretending to take notes, though I could feel his eyes on me every now and then. After lunch, the group broke off for some free time. Some people went sightseeing, others stayed by the pool. I told the team I needed to finish a report, but really, I just wanted to be alone. I sat at a small cafe across from the hotel, nursing a cup of coffee that had long gone cold, scrolling aimlessly through my phone. That was when a shadow fell across the table. "Mind if I join you?" I looked up. Nathan stood there, hands in his pockets, that easy smile on his face. I nodded, pretending not to be surprised. He sat down across from me, ordered the same coffee, and for a few minutes we just talked about nothing. The weather, the city, how everyone at work seemed more relaxed here. But under all of that, there was a quiet understanding neither of us dared to name. When his phone buzzed, he silenced it immediately. "They can wait," he said, smiling faintly. We walked back to the hotel together, our conversation slow and effortless. There was something dangerously natural about how we moved side by side, as if we'd known each other longer than a few years of shared office corridors. When we reached the lobby, he asked if I could stop by his room later to review a new proposal. My throat tightened before I could answer. "Of course," I said. By evening, the sky had turned a soft gold, and the hallways felt quieter than usual. I told myself I was going there for work. That was the rule I clung to, the excuse I rehearsed. But when I stood outside his door again, my heartbeat betrayed me. Nathan opened the door with that same calm composure, though I caught something different in his eyes this time. Something unguarded. The room smelled faintly of cedar and cologne. On the small table were 2 glasses, just like last night. No laptop this time. No papers. "I thought we could talk," he said simply. "Not about work," I froze. The honesty in his tone left no room to hide behind professionalism. He gestured for me to sit, and I did. The silence stretched between us, thick with things we didn't know how to say. He started first. "You ever feel like you spend your life being dependable for everyone else, and then realize no one's really there for you?" The question hit harder than I expected. I didn't answer right away. When I did, my voice was softer than I intended. "Every single day." Nathan leaned forward slightly. "You're good at what you do, Ethan. But I see how you carry things. You act like everything's fine even when it's not." I laughed quietly. "That's kind of what we do, right? Keep it all together." His eyes searched mine for a long time. "You shouldn't have to all the time." The words hung in the air, heavier than they should have been. I looked away, focusing on the faint city lights outside. When he handed me the glass, our fingers brushed. Just a brief touch, accidental, but my chest tightened instantly. I set the glass down, my hands suddenly restless. "I don't think this is a good idea," I said finally. Nathan didn't move closer. He didn't try to change my mind. He just nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. "You're probably right," he said quietly. "I just wanted to talk. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, but I wasn't uncomfortable. That was the problem. I felt seen, and that scared me more than anything else." For a moment, neither of us spoke. I could hear the faint hum of music from somewhere in the hotel corridor, the steady rhythm of my own pulse. When I stood up, Nathan did too. He gave a small nod, the kind that said everything words couldn't. At the door, I paused, not sure what to say. He finally broke the silence. "You don't have to explain," he said. "I get it." I managed a weak smile. "Good night, Nathan." "Good night, Ethan." As I walked back through the quiet hallway, I realized how thin the line was between loyalty and longing. I hadn't crossed it, but I'd looked right at it and hesitated. And maybe that hesitation said more than any action could. Back in my room, I sat on the edge of the bed, my reflection staring back at me in the darkened window. The message thread on my phone was still open. I typed something, "Thanks for tonight," then deleted it before hitting send. I didn't need to say it. We both already knew. The morning after felt strangely hollow. The usual chatter at breakfast blurred into background noise. words melting together into something meaningless. Nathan sat at the far end of the table, surrounded by senior staff, yet somehow our eyes met for a brief second. It wasn't intentional, just one of those quiet accidents that carried too much meaning. He looked away first. I told myself that was for the best. The rest of the day moved slowly. Presentations, feedback sessions, polite applause, all the expected motions of a corporate retreat. But underneath it all, my mind kept circling back to last night. To the silence, the tension, the almost. Every now and then, I'd catch a glimpse of Nathan walking past or speaking to another manager, his expression unreadable. He didn't look at me again, not once. When evening came, the company hosted a farewell dinner in the hotel's main hall. People were laughing, taking selfies, making plans for flights home. I played along, smiled when I had to, even joined a toast or two. But inside, I felt like I was floating above it all, watching myself from the outside. That quiet, invisible distance, it had followed me all day. Halfway through the dinner, I stepped out for some air. The corridor outside was empty, quiet except for the faint hum of music leaking from the ballroom. I leaned against the wall, trying to steady my thoughts. That's when I heard his voice behind me. "You okay?" I turned. Nathan was there, his tie loosened, jacket draped over his arm. He looked tired, not just from the day, but in the kind of way that comes from carrying something you can't talk about. "I'm fine," I said. "Just needed a break," he nodded slowly. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then, in that low, calm tone of his, he said, "We both knew it was wrong." The words hung between us, sharp and quiet. I couldn't meet his eyes. I wanted to say something, to explain, to deny, but there was nothing left to say. Because he was right. Whatever it was, whatever we almost allowed to happen, it had already crossed a line inside both of us. He sighed softly and looked toward the window. "You're a good man, Ethan. Don't forget that." Then he turned and walked away, leaving me alone in that dim hallway, with the sound of distant laughter fading behind me. I stayed there for a long time before returning to my room, unsure whether I felt relieved or shattered. When the trip ended the next morning, everything moved in a blur. Checkouts, taxis, small talk at the airport, all the normal rhythms of departure. Nathan shook everyone's hand, thanked the team for their hard work, and when it was my turn, his hand brushed mine for a brief moment. Just a polite gesture, professional and clean. But in that instant, it felt like goodbye in a language only the two of us understood. Back home, the familiar smell of coffee and laundry filled the house. Liam greeted me with a tired smile, wrapping his arms around me. I hugged him back, holding on a little longer than usual. He didn't notice, or maybe he did and chose not to ask why. That night, we sat on the couch, watching something on TV, the kind of show that neither of us really paid attention to. It should have felt comforting. It should have felt like home. But instead, there was a quiet ache sitting in the space between us. Not because of what happened on the trip, but because of what it revealed. I realized how far we had drifted, how long it had been since someone had looked at me the way Nathan did in that room. Days turned into weeks. Work resumed, life returned to its usual rhythm. Nathan sent a few company-wide emails, nothing personal. I replied once or twice, keeping it strictly professional. Yet every time his name appeared in my inbox, my pulse quickened before I forced myself to move on. One evening after everyone had gone to bed, I opened my laptop to review some reports. Nathan's name appeared again, a simple follow-up about a project. I typed out a full reply, formal and polite, but before sending it, I stopped. For a long minute, I just stared at the screen. Then, without thinking too much, I deleted the draft. I went to my contacts list, scrolled to his name, and deleted that too. The sound of the laptop closing echoed through the room. It felt final, necessary. I looked at the framed photo on the shelf, me and Liam on our wedding day, smiling like nothing could ever shake us. I whispered quietly, "I'm still here." Maybe I was saying it to him. Maybe to myself. In the end, it wasn't a kiss, or a confession, or a night of betrayal that changed me. It was the realization that emotional distance can be just as dangerous as anything physical. Because once someone sees the part of you your partner forgot existed, It's already too late. I never saw Nathan outside of work again. And maybe that's how it was meant to be. But sometimes, when I pass by a hotel lobby or smell that same cedar scent in the air, it all comes back. The silence, the almost, the truth. Some memories don't fade, especially the ones that almost happened.